limits, man. Okay, calm down.
This film follows several sex workers and talks to both sex workers and advocates and some policy people. And you even, shockingly enough, had a prosecutor, which blew me away. You actually had a prosecutor you spoke with, Tami, who who opposes prosecuting sex workers, who I guess supports decriminalization. And you speak to some local politicians, also former guests of the show, Ron Kim, for instance. Can you guys tell us what the goal of decriminalization is and why it's different from legalization?
Decrim is to decriminalize a job, to decriminalize every aspect. For example, decriminalizing both the sex worker and the consumer, often called the Johns, that it's full decriminalization, and that there's a lot of different things out there that's called the Nordic model, the end demand model, the entrapment model. And they are where you don't criminalize the sex worker, but you arrest the John. And that creates a whole bunch of problems unto itself. And so in the film, we're trying very much to tease apart things that are sometimes complicated. And this is a complicated one because if you look at sex work as something negative, you might want to end the demand. But if you look at sex work, consensual sex work among adults, and I emphasize consensual, then why do we want to end the demand? It's a job. That's how we got the title. It's just a job. The difference between why people in the movement are demanding, fighting for, protesting for full decrim, not legalization, is because legalization in a capitalist society, legalization where we have racism, where we have all these isms that are alive and well, if we legalize sex work, there'll be a two-tier system. Just like what's happened in terms of the legalization of marijuana. We have a case study of marijuana and who got impacted by that. The corporations took it over. Small business wiped out. People are still incarcerated. The legalization doesn't guarantee justice. So the idea of taking the criminality in the job away allows people to have equal access in this form of work. J. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think that's a really great, overview. I mean, I think, when people say, okay, oh, we want to legalize it, we want to decriminalize it, they're many times using those two words interchangeably. But as Tami said, this does create a two-tiered system, right? Where people who are already at the margins, usually and affected most by policing, by criminalization, by incarceration, those are the folks that suffer under a two-tiered system. You have people of color, you have poor folks, you have trans folks, you have people living with disabilities, folks that have, prior rap sheets. Like, it's a compounded reality that when you legalize something, you're still making it criminal. The behavior is still criminal. You're just saying, under these circumstances, we won't arrest you. The United States is only has one state that has legalized prostitution. Of course, that's Nevada. But a lot of people don't know. They assume that Vegas, of course, is legalized prostitution. It's not. It's outside of Vegas, and Vegas has the highest rates of prostitution arrests in the entire country, and it's right next door. So that's a concrete example of what happens in a place where there's legalization in smaller rural towns. Many times they're monopolies. Many times they are tied into folks that have sort of legacy, stakes in keeping it, criminal. And for some people who are brothel owners, that is the case, because if it were to become decriminalize, then their business goes away, right? You have and you have a control on the market. People, you know, of color, people with various bodies, people of all genders, many times get left out of those systems because they want to homogenize it in a way that's the most palatable. You know, you can think of it as sort of, the Walmartification of an industry, to say like, okay, well, we only want these people working here. We only want it under these. Here's the market. You know, they control the market. They can, and it just affects like a lot of smaller business owners and individual business owners, just like Tami said.
I think a lot of people really love talking about their opinions on sex work and whether they think it's liberating or exploitative. But to me, it's kind of like either way, making it criminalizing it is not good for sex workers. It's almost like I don't really care about people's opinions on it. People sometimes will focus more on sex work as an idea than they do on the lived experiences of sex workers. And it's never going to go away. I mean, you can try to take away the demand, it won't go away. So I just find it really, like, people who are, I get why some people feel conflicted, but to me, I really think that to like oppose decriminalization requires living with your head in the sand.